Hello, I'm Ram. This is your future self. I don't know a lot about this game other than it's sort of a text-based game where you're in sort of like a time loop. And I'm a complete sucker for time loops. They are by far my favourite genre of anything. Films, books, video games. I don't think I've ever played a time loop video game though. Let's just start. Hey. You. Are you there? I am here. I may need to increase text speed. Good. Listen carefully. You are directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. You are probably confused, because from your perspective, these events haven't happened yet. How could you possibly be held responsible for something you haven't done? Well, in 35 years, your future self will commit these acts. And your future self is you. You are both part of a single, continuous chronological entity. As such, the responsibility for your future crimes also lies with you. Okay, makes sense, I guess. You are probably wondering where you are. I have placed you in a temporary bubble outside time. You will be sharing this bubble with your future self, brought here from 35 years in the future. You are to convince your future self of the wrongness of their actions. If you can do this, you will alter your own time stream, changing your own destiny and stopping your actions before they can occur. Only then will you be exonerated of your crimes. There is a limitation of the technology used to hold you in this bubble. Time will flow normally for you, but it will appear to loop every 90 minutes. Until you can persuade your future self that their actions were wrong, the loop will continue infinitely. Okay, so basically I'm trapped here. Isn't this illegal? To trap people here? I haven't done anything yet, so I'm still an innocent person at this point. If you succeed, you will sever the causal chain, linking you and your future self, and alter your destiny. Before responding to anything your future self says to you, think carefully. They will have certain moods. They won't always be receptive to the way you respond to them. Think carefully about your tone and your confidence in your conversational abilities. This does not bode well. I have very little confidence in my conversations. Your conversation skill, your future self's mood, and your chosen tone will all determine how well they receive what you have to say. If you want to be free, make sure you are as convincing as you can be. Think carefully. Think strategically. And good luck. Okay, so I have to convince my future self not to do it. Okay, this is them. Wow, they were actually telling the truth. This is really happening. Look, rationality 5, they're more rational than me. Empathy at 10 is good. That means they'll accept me. Hopefully I can guilt them into not doing it by telling them, aka me, will be trapped here forever until they give in. Current receptiveness. Very good. Well, look at you. Just as I remember, so fresh-faced and naive. You have no idea what I've seen. You have absolutely no idea what's ahead of you. It doesn't seem like you have high empathy. You seem to be being rather rude to me, even though we're the same person. So, is it still empathy when it's yourself? Thought empathy was other people's emotions. I'm almost looking forward to hearing what you have to say, but believe me, I stand behind what I did completely. I don't know what you're planning to say to change my mind, but it won't work. Right. This bar at the top, I think, is the 90-minute bar to how we loop. So, we've got to do this quickly. Right. None of these skills I can respond rationally, empathetically, or assertively. None of these I have the edge on this guy. I'm gonna say empathetically because he's very empathetic, so should hopefully be nice to me. Okay, this is very odd for me too. Believe me. Sorry, but are you sure this is real? Have we been duped? Ooh, that's a good grift. Try and get him to doubt his own reality. Little point system. Does it matter what I say? If you think this is all fake, then I'm just a figment of your imagination, or whatever you think's happening here. Look, I appreciate this is weird, especially for you, but it'd be best for both of us if you could wrap your head around this as quickly as possible. Let's not draw this out any more than we have to. Okay, but rationally the only thing that's keeping us in this weird time bubble is that you won't admit that you're sorry. So the only way to leave this is for you to admit that you're sorry. So why don't you just do that? You'll also be trapped in here. Unless his little robot talking to him at the start gave him a different objective, and he's trying to wheedle some sort of information out of me. Okay, I'm gonna go empathy again. Just because that did something. I appreciate you want to speed things up, but I can't help but wonder why this is less weird for you than for me. Is there something I'm missing here? Yeah, like have I been trapped in a time bubble in the next 35 years? Look, I wanted to avoid this conversation because, as you correctly just pointed out, I would rather proceed as quickly as possible. Come on, share your feelings with me. If you must force the conversation, I guess I should explain. Yes, I know something you don't. Time travel was discovered during our lifetime, but it was quickly outlawed by the UN Science Commission. They claimed it was the only choice they had in order to prevent all-out war. Right, we haven't been told what your killing thousands of people was. Potentially, did you go back in time and, like, you know, butterfly effect, change the law or something, and it resulted in tons of people not being born? Although, in a universe where time travel does exist, would that be considered murder to prevent people from being born? It kind of is, but I don't know, kind of not. Tell me more, you. They were probably right. The worldwide uproar following its announcement was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Yeah, I can imagine everyone will be. Thing. Right, this guy's empathy has changed to very low. So, potentially the empathy route is not working with him. He's not sympathising with me. The ban wasn't difficult to implement, as only a handful of the wealthiest nations on the planet had access to the tech in the first place. Yeah, well, if time travel did exist, and honestly, I don't even know what you do with time travel if it did exist. Because I was gonna say, oh, they could go to the future and then take some technology and bring it back, and then they'd be richer. But I don't know, that doesn't make sense, I think. But okay, time travel was banned. I always suspected that the ban was a convenient way for the wealthiest nations to keep time travel hidden and clandestinely use it to their advantage. Advantage in, presumably, wars. I don't know, diplomatic stuff. I've been expecting something like this to happen at some point. That's why I'm not as surprised as you. Okay, assertiveness. If empathy is not going to get with you, I'll start being a little more aggressive towards you. Well, maybe it should have been banned. Who are you to say otherwise? You aren't a scientist. Yeah, me in the future definitely did something weird with time travel. And ruined a lot of stuff. Are you? Ooh! Ooh! I've gained something. I'm a scientist. Apparently, maybe. Well, no, I'm not. I suppose I don't know what they know. The knee-jerk move to ban just felt too sudden. There was no debate or democratic process. It was discovered one minute, then banned the next. If I had to guess, because of the nature of time travel, that 1 minute it was discovered to its ban was actually a very long time. A little bit of insight. Click. See, this is why I'm sure they didn't actually ban it entirely. I know I can't prove anything, but it just feels extremely plausible to me. True, but that adds the theory of if they discovered time travel, why would they mention it to the world they discovered it if they were just going to ban it? Yeah, instead of... Because if they realised the world responded badly, surely they would just go back in time and prevent themselves from ever saying that to the world. I don't know. Time travel confuses me. Think about it. This was probably the most monumental technological achievement ever. Were they just going to lock it up and throw away the key? I do agree with you on this. Absolutely, if time travel was invented, we're just not going to pretend like it wasn't. Of course they weren't. It makes sense that governments would lie about a ban to the public, so they could use it quietly in the safe confines of their own laboratories. I wouldn't put it past them to use it on their own citizens to maintain order. People in power regularly stoop to new lows in order to maintain power and control their people. Time travel could just be another weapon in their arsenal of oppression. Does make a lot of sense. Right. Gained a bit of insight on you there, and you're going to be quite receptive to me responding rationally, which... Most of this sounds a lot like a paranoid anti-government conspiracy theory. Are you sure you're completely of sound mind right now? You know what, I hate to agree with my future self that killed thousands of people, but I think it sounds plausible. Or maybe we're just saying this to, like, bait him into telling us more. Oh, I got something again. I know how this sounds, but I'm more certain than I've ever been. Surely the fact that we're having this conversation is enough proof that I'm probably right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Obviously people are still using time travel, because if they weren't, then this whole thing wouldn't be possible. But what's the point? They must be using time travel pretty frequently if they're willing to do it for... I know thousands of people is a lot, but, like, within the scheme of things, I'm sure if they banned time travel, they wouldn't, like, dig it out of its basement just to, like, harass a serial killer. Views. Yes, time travel is real. They use time travel. That computer talking to me at the start was probably one of the government's. This wouldn't be possible at all without the use of time manipulation technology, so it couldn't have been truly banned. Absolutely right. Look, this situation is bizarre. Immediately after finding out time travel exists, you've been forced to argue with an older version of yourself. You've not had the time to properly process what's happening. This is true, but I haven't seen any proof that this guy is the older version of myself yet. I was told that by the little computer that was talking to me at the start, and they just told me that time travel was real, and I just instantly believed them. Which I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have believed them. There's no proof that this person is my future self. This could very easily be someone pretending, an AI. I mean, I am talking to it through a weird computer, so it's very possible that this is just an AI that's tricking me. Okay, is there any way you can prove that you're me? If this had happened to me at your age, I'd probably have had a nervous breakdown. Okay, that kind of suggests that we're not the same people. Because very clearly you wouldn't have had a nervous breakdown, because I'm not having a nervous breakdown. Although, hold on. I've got to think about timelines. Surely my future self would remember being my age, and therefore he would remember having to have a conversation with his future self, because that's how time works. So, if this is true, legitimate time travel, he should already remember our exact conversation. And so he should very accurately know how I'm feeling. Right, I don't know if I have a very high chance on anything, but I've got the most chance at getting by being assertive with him. Wait, what the hell? You're telling me you haven't been through this already? Surely that's a paradox of some sort. Exactly what I said, thank you, game. It makes no sense. Exactly, it's not a paradox though. If you're successful in convincing me of my wrongdoing, then you'll have changed your own time stream and prevented this version of me from existing. I'm gonna need a minute to process what that means. Okay, so his motivation is to prevent himself from being made to not exist. Surely if we're going down this route, then it's not just time travel, because time has been split into two very separate streams, shall we say. The stream in which I don't convince you, where we will just relive this 90-minute conversation over and over again, and the stream where I do convince you, where you won't exist. So you are only... There's a 50% chance that you are my future self. And if I do convince you, you are no longer my future self. So... Does that make sense? That doesn't make... I'm just going to get you to tell me more information. Make the computer explain it better to me than I can. You will live on to be a version of me that behaves differently, and doesn't commit the same crime. I will never have existed, and I never will exist. That's the point of all this, I think. Okay, I feel like this doesn't change the original problem. Because I was instructed by the computer, who we're assuming is like very important law enforcement, that I have to convince my future self to feel bad about the acts. But just because I succeed in that doesn't mean I've convinced my current self. In order to prevent this from happening in the future, I would have to convince my current self that I shouldn't kill thousands of people. Which would be a lot easier than trying to make me fight with my future self, who, if I succeed, it doesn't really matter what he thinks. Because he won't exist anyway. Yeah, very weird. You would think that, the time travelers would just try and convince me to not kill people. What's the point of making us two talk to each other? Right, I'm gonna go rational on him. I see, so once I've completed my task, the bubble we're in right now will collapse, and you'll cease to exist. This is effectively a death sentence for you, isn't it? Well... It is a death sentence, but not really, because... essentially, my future self could live forever. Because, as we know, if I can't effectively convince him, then I'll just continue infinitely through here. Which, probably for some people, is a very good life. Never dying. Presumably never feeling pain. And getting to live forever. So, this could be looked at as a positive thing for my future self. And you're not facing the wrath of your crimes. You're just getting sort of screened out of existence. Gain some more instant light. Doing very bad at empathy, but everything else has been good. Yeah, well... it's not a real death. I just cease to exist. I'm sure many people would love an instantaneous, painless end to existence. I'm actually lucky, in a twisted way. I mean, yeah, that's how I'd take it. There's like no downside for this. Yeah, dying is probably very painful. And you won't even remember. So, the alternative, presumably before time travel, they just would have put you in the electric chair, which is apparently supposed to be very painful, so... in a way this seems better. Ooh, the music stopped. Are we getting something serious? But stopping me from existing isn't really the point. They could just kill me now if they wanted. Exactly. As I said, what's the point of putting you in here? The point is that they want you to understand why my actions were wrong, in order to prevent you from doing the same thing. They're doing a bad job of it. I don't even know what crime you did. What did that disembodied voice say at the start? We're a single continuous chronological entity. If you can successfully convince me, then you have successfully convinced yourself. We are one and the same. Well, that doesn't fully go, because I already don't want to murder people, so... Job done. I should be out of here. I've already convinced myself. I already know that I don't want to murder people. I'm wondering if the sound is supposed to be off. I'll leave it a minute, see if it comes back on. On the upside, I might actually get somewhere by being empathetic now. It all still sounds a bit strange to me, but I understand. They think you're a dangerous criminal, and have a way to prevent your crime ever happening. It's arguably better than locking someone away, or sentencing someone to death. I guess it's more humane. The one issue with it is you can't really... An outside perspective can't tell if it's more humane, because as soon as someone commits a crime, you just blitz them from existence. You know, you've not even asked me what I did. You've no idea what you're praising. Are we getting the details? Oh, he's mad again. He really doesn't like the empathy. You've spent all this time questioning me about everything else. But you've not bothered to ask me what actually happened. Right, I think assertiveness will work on you again. Fine, explain it to me. Here's the juicy stuff. Unbelievable. You don't mention it, and now all of a sudden you're bluntly demanding to hear the story. Oh, forget it. I might as well explain. Please do. A few years ago, for me that is, I was the overseer of a climate refuge camp. One of many the UN set up across the world for people displaced by climate change. Oh. I think I might see what you're getting at. Are you one of those people who believed in the whole... the planet's dying because there's too many people on it, so you went back and tried to cull the population? I think that might be where this is going. From what I remember, it hasn't reached breaking point in your time. In my time, however, millions of people from poorer countries have been displaced by colossal flooding and destroyed ecosystems, and these camps have become their temporary home. As you might expect, there's constant bickering by the world's wealthiest countries over who will take the refugees in the long term. Makes sense, still happening. Still can't just take people into your country for some reason. All the while, the camps have been expanding exponentially, and no one's sure how the UN is going to keep paying for them. My camp had about 40,000 people in it. It was like a small city. Conditions were absolutely terrible. There were times when I felt that they'd been better off dying than fleeing to this place. Okay, you killed refugees? Doesn't particularly seem like the correct way to solve this problem. There was rampant crime, poverty, corruption, and... Hello? Hello? Can you hear us? Yeah, who is this? Are you the reason I don't have sound? You can hear us. Okay, look, we don't have much time. We've temporarily interrupted the loop. Hopefully they can't detect it. I bet this is an AI. If we get cut off, we'll try and interrupt the loop again. But it might have to wait until the next loop, for reasons that are too complicated to explain right now. Okay. Everything they told you at the start is a lie. I knew it. I always see these things. No, not a lie, but not the whole truth. They didn't tell you who they represented, did they? You were just told that you needed to... And they cut off. Have you gone? Hello? Ooh, rebel interference detected. Mandatory loop reset in 3, 2, 1. Stole me points. It's good that I get smarter. Assertiveness is 11 is really going to help me. I knew this was fishy. Wow, they were actually telling the truth. This is really happening. Yeah, say what you want. I still think you might be an AI. Let me start asking you some questions. I know what's ahead of me. Stop whining about this. Now, rationality. I had a bit of a boost on my rationality skills. Well, this is strange. Logically, I can only assume that I'm either in a simulation or hallucination. In which case, asking about reality seems rather pointless. Ooh, rebel group. Wait, I remember this. We've had this conversation before. Indeed we have. I pressure them, even though they don't want to talk about it. Why? I'm just wasting my time. Ooh, is this potentially not the first... Well, not the first or second loop we've been through? Have we already been in this thing for, like, hundreds of years? No, this time will be different. I mean, we can get there eventually, as long as we retain our memories. I'm impressed that you're managing to hold it together. This answer might seem redundant to you, but I can empathetically say that no, you're not hallucinating. This is really happening. Now, thinking about it. Remember when my future self said, you know, if this had happened to me when I was younger, I would have had a nervous breakdown. Potentially that could have been true, because the first loop that I played, wasn't actually the first time that I've been doing this loop. I potentially did have a panic attack the first time I came in here. But just, I've gotten so used to it, I'm not even fazed. That's why I also took the whole time travel thing at face value, because deep down I know it's true. Look, I appreciate this is weird, especially for you. Oh yeah, you've said this before. Wrap your head around this as quickly as possible. I respect... Okay, I'll say that. Oh, okay. I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought you'd be freaking out. I wasn't freaking out in your first loop either. In fact, why aren't you freaking out? If this happened to me at your age, I would have had a nervous breakdown. I know! Well, it didn't. It's not my first time. Potentially the future self might start to remember loops as well if I can prompt him enough. This doesn't make sense. What are you hiding from me? Oh no, he's becoming self-aware. Having to peace out. This doesn't feel right. Something is wrong. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm making this worse. My future self seems confused. I won't convince them by confusing them. I need to get back on track. Okay, so don't bring up anything that I shouldn't know. Might go empathy again, even though that's not been particularly good in the past. Thanks for beginning to understand. There's something odd about this though, isn't there? If I'm a younger version of you, then you should have been through this. Right, we already saw this. We already know this. Insight banks. Right, potentially I only remember a portion of my memory when we leave. Assertive, let's go. This is our top stat. Come on, stop beating around the bush. This is a death sentence for you, isn't it? Already seen this death sentence? I'll just be skipping through the repeated dialogue, but I'm still reading through it just to check in case there's anything that changes in his answers. It's an inventive way of ridding the world of a dangerous criminal without having to imprison or execute anyone. Ooh, I'm gonna get 5 rationality next turn. I guess from their perspective, it makes sense, although I'm obviously not thrilled about it. You know, you've not actually asked me about the details of my alleged crimes yet. I've already heard this and I'm still not getting the info, they keep breaking through. Another memory. I remember this. I remember them talking about being overseer of a climate camp and the squalid conditions, but then something interrupts. Something I don't understand. Right, just pretend we don't know to our future self. They want me to understand, though. They want to tell me something important. Who are they? I need to tell my future self about this. I need them to understand. This is a really bad idea. It's just going to stress the future self out and then the world will start blowing up again. I don't trust this guy. I think it is a robot or an AI. I don't buy that he's me. I gotta say it though, I gotta freak him right out. You were the overseer of a climate refugee camp. The conditions were terrible. You have already told me this. Let's see who's having the nervous breakdown now. I know this sounds strange, but halfway through you telling your story, someone interrupts the loop. Ooh, that is potentially that a pre-planned event in the loop. Like, every time he's halfway through telling that story, the loop interrupts. In which case, is the loop someone trying to keep us in this prison forever? Are they more of a foe than a friend? They try to convince me of something, but get cut off before they can say anything. Does any of this make any sense? We've just killed this guy's mind. No, I've no idea what you're talking about. This time manipulation device might be doing something strange to your mind. Okay, are you going to try and tell me you're not a climate change overseer? Don't worry too much. This sort of tech is way beyond my understanding. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some weird side effects. That's not a weird side effect. And both of us are in here, allegedly, if you're not an AI, so you should be experiencing them as well. So, wait. You already know I was the overseer. Did I tell you about the rampant crime, corruption, and... Hello, can you hear us? Change the outcome, we gotta do it. Yes, but stop talking. They know you're here. They'll just reset the loop. Not again, disconnecting. Now, not a conspiracy theory at the start, but in that window both of our texts are green. So, is that potentially another time stream of me? Am I trying to hack myself out? Maybe my future self is out and they're trying to get both of us out. Or something. I don't know. Are you even listening to me? Am I boring you? Do you actually want to hear what I have to say? Yes, tell me your story. Why did you kill thousands of people? I'm not quite sure what just happened, but I do really want to hear your story. Okay, fine. It doesn't even really matter anyway. It's not like I can escape from this loop. We're stuck here with each other. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. The sickness. There was a colossal sickness rampaging through the camp. I'd seen outbreaks in other refugee camps, but I'd never seen anything like this before. Okay. Did our loop reset? No, it didn't. This level of sickness was just so far out of my realm of experience. Thousands had died, and thousands more were at death's door. It was just... Right, gotta be empathetic here. Oh wow. It must have been very hard to witness. Do you know what was causing it? Finally got a plus on my insight. Yeah, it was horrible to see. Not knowing the cause made it even worse. I may have been overseer, but they didn't trust me enough to tell me what they were actually doing. What are you insinuating? Spell it out for me. Is this some sort of government-made disease? I was about to report the sickness to senior management, but I began to notice officials behaving strangely across the camp. Hushed conversations, late-night gatherings, off-the-book meetings, and so on. When I asked one of my contacts about what was going on, he accused me of being irrational and paranoid. For a while I believed him, but eventually it all seemed too strange to let go. I snooped around the senior management offices when I knew they wouldn't be there. I didn't find anything incriminating, but I found a room in the management sector that I couldn't access. As overseer, I should have been able to enter every door in the camp. Something was very off here. I convinced another contact to give me the key code for the room. She warned me that there was no going back after this, but I didn't care. I had to know what they were hiding. Ooh. I gotta... keep rational. We need to get the facts here. What exactly did you see? What were they doing? It seems unlikely that you could manage all this without getting caught. Unless, of course, this is where you were caught. Ooh. Oh, I'm clever. I'm here because I'm responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. Remember? Nothing I'd done at this point had caused anyone to die. Well, we know about time travel, so... Well, actually, I suppose the contact who helped me could very well be dead now. I've no idea what happened to her. Given my current predicament, I can't imagine it was anything good. Okay, potentially were you the source of the disease? Poor Alice. I really wish I hadn't involved her. She could have met a grim fate. Spit it out, what happened? Still, the greater good is far more important. She'd understand if she knew the whole picture. She wasn't naive, she knew the risks. Okay, you need some empathy? Please, stop drip-feeding me this. Tell me what you did. I'm sure she did. It's sad that there might have been collateral damage. But if what you found was important, then at least it wasn't in vain. Oh, believe me, it was important. Come on, tell me. The room seemed innocuous at first glance. But then I noticed some paper documents on a table next to an unnetworked computer. I hadn't seen paper for a long time. It was very rare and only used when something was too important to be stored on a hackable device. The whole thing seemed very suspicious. Naturally, I looked at the documents. What did I find? Well, please don't interrupt me, I want to know. They were detailed reports about a bioweapon program being tested by a clandestine arm of the UN, right under my nose, in this very camp. They were engineering a pathogen that would reliably kill about a quarter of the population. Oh, it is going to be people with their overpopulation is causing climate change. I'm pretty sure that's a myth anyway. They wanted it to seem natural, like it had spread by common water contaminants. Every single person in the camp was a guinea pig for a genocidal weapon. It was torturous, but again, I am not survived. I am not surprised. Tell me more. Shit. Your bosses were in on this. I hope you challenge them immediately. That's an awful thing to say. My current self. If it's like the whole UN that's in on it, they're not gonna like go, oh, sorry, you're right, genocide is bad. You should have like leaked it to journalists or something. That's what I'd do. Yeah, I did. I took what I'd found to my other UN source and confronted him about it. I demanded an explanation. I wasn't going to leave without an answer, and he knew it. He told me everything. Their justification? The wealthiest countries were never going to stop arguing about what to do with the refugees. None of their citizens wanted refugees near them, and the situation was only going to escalate as the climate worsened. That sucks because all of the most of the cause of climate change is done by wealthy countries, and yet it's poorer nations that get affected. It's a nightmare. Some people in those countries blamed poorer nations for not doing enough to protect themselves from the effects of climate change over the past decades. They claimed these countries spent their money on everything but climate defence. Which isn't particularly true, it's mostly just where on the planet you are depends on how you get affected by climate change. Because of this, they apparently deserved to suffer the consequences. Empathy was in extremely short supply. If this guy is gonna say he, killed the entire UN, you know what? Maybe I'm not gonna convince him he was wrong. The immediate problem facing the UN was a lack of funding for the growing refugee camps, and no country was willing to increase their contributions. It was quickly reaching crisis point. They needed to do something drastic if they were to effect change in time. Right, gotta be... I'll go rational again, because I'm better than that. It's a bit of spend. I mean, the money alone you'd have to spend on developing a bioweapon. Surely you could have just used that to make people more houses. I don't know, there's still billionaires in 35 years. Can't you just steal their money? Right, rational response. All of that sounds understandable. Does it? How do we get from here to kill a quarter of the population? How did that become a reasonable solution? They believe that a catastrophic population reduction in poorer countries would shock wealthier nations and force them to accept more refugees. That doesn't quite make sense to me. Yeah, I'm sensing that wasn't their real motive, because if the goal was convincing wealthier nations, then would just killing a lot of people do it? Why a quarter of the population? And why common water contaminants? Well, a quarter is bad, but not catastrophic. It would be terrible, but wouldn't destroy entire countries. And common water contaminants, well, they're present in much higher levels in poorer countries, and almost non-existent in rich ones. That does make sense if you're going to go for disease spreading. Water's probably the best way to go for it. If a quarter of people in the richest countries died, they would never take in the refugees. The climate refugees were disproportionately from poorer countries, however, so they would be the ones affected by this bioweapon. From the UN's perspective, they had made a harrowing choice in order to save lives in the long run. From mine, they were willingly murdering millions of people. I'm very with you on this, because if you have to make a drastic choice, there's a lot of better ways. Like I said before, there's still going to be billionaires in 35 years. If we're going to start doing illegal stuff, then you should start, I don't know the word, taking all their money and distributing it properly. But then, I know that probably won't work, because I'm aware billionaires give a lot of money to government, so it's kind of a lost cause, but still. Right, gotta be empathetic to you. How did you solve this? Wow, I'd never have guessed. Sorry you had to find this out, especially this way. But why didn't they tell you about it? Shouldn't you have known it was happening in your camp? That is very true. Just coincidentally, you were the only worker that didn't know about this very secret plan. That is very suspicious. Yeah, it was so surprising. I could barely believe what I was hearing. I think maybe you did know. And you just feel too guilty to admit it. I actually asked my contact why I had been kept in the dark. He said he needed a neutral agent to maintain order in the camp, and not panic the refugees. Again, fully don't know if I trust you, future self. I won't lie, I was upset. I'd felt I'd been scorned by the very organisation I was trying to serve. I felt isolated and alone, and so many thoughts were rattling round my head. Was I kept out of the loop because I was a liability? Didn't they trust me? Did they want to kill me as part of their tests? That is a pretty good potential, because a disease that specifically kills refugees exclusively would be suspicious. You definitely need to kill a fair amount of rich people just to sort of make it seem like it wasn't a deliberate thing. Right, we're going assertive again. How did you kill thousands of people? Oh, did you alter the bioweapon to get the wealthy countries? You're more upset about being left out of their plan than the fact they're designing a bioweapon to kill millions. I know it sounds self-pitying, but the looming threat of the bioweapon was far more important to me. I guess they wouldn't know I have a strong moral compass. Blame our parents. I've always been outspoken about things I cared about. It's why I was a good overseer. I genuinely cared for those people. That's why I took my concerns to my superior officer. I knew I'd be putting my position at risk, but I couldn't, in good conscience, let it continue. You taking your concerns, you know he's part of it. I only got halfway through explaining my concerns to him before he called security on me. He had absolutely no intention of hearing me out. Of course not my future self. I panicked. If I was captured, no one would stand in the way of their plan. Everyone else involved was clearly willing to go along with it. So, I made a split-second decision that I've had to live with ever since. I ran down the corridor to the environment control room. I locked myself in and closed the camp gates, preventing anyone from getting in or out. If the only working version of the bioweapon was in this camp, and all the research notes were here, then I could destroy them and end this right now. I also knew that it was being tested on the refugees, but I had no idea who was infected. Any one of them could have been contagious. Security were banging on the door, and it was close to breaking down. I had no time to figure out a better plan. I had to act there and then. I did the best I could. I really did. There was nothing else I could have done. I deactivated all the safety features of the environmental control system using my overseer access and overloaded the entire thing. Every inch of the camp was turned into an inferno. It destroyed the bioweapon and the plans and killed every single person there. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm on your side. I don't want to convince you that you were wrong for doing that. Because you weren't, obviously. I mean, obviously it wasn't great to kill, like, thousands of people, but those thousands of people would already have been dead. Plus you got the officers who made the bioweapon, so I think I'm on your side with this. There was nothing else I could have done. It was a choice between sacrificing these 40,000 people or allowing millions to be killed when the bioweapon was released. Okay, so I see the obvious parallel between my future self's decision to kill a small amount of people, which would let people in the future live, which would let more people in the future be alive, versus the government, which was the exact same reasoning they had for doing the bioweapon. Right, I support my future self's decision. Does that mean rationally I should support the government's decision to make the bioweapon? Because I don't. Yeah, that's a rough one, because they're both fundamentally kind of the same thing. The only difference is that in my future self's choice, he had a very clear binary kill 40,000 or let millions be died. Whereas the government had, time, money and resources in order to find out a better solution. And there definitely would have been a better solution. I bet you're wondering how I'm still alive. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, how did you... Hello? 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 Okay, I'm being interrupted again. Why is that ghost still alive? I want to hear what you have to say, but they can detect you. They'll just reset the loop again. Actually, I don't think they will. Okay, are you the people who made the loop? I still don't trust you, hacker person. We've made some improvements, and hopefully we can get around their intrusion screening. We were cut off last time, partway through explaining who the people in charge of this loop actually are. Well, why would I believe you? You say don't believe a disembodied voice at the start, but there's no difference between that disembodied voice and you. You're also a disembodied voice. I have no more reason to trust you than I do to trust the people at the start, so... They lied to you. They have no interest in absolving you of a crime. That's never been their goal. Oh! I've got an idea. Is this going to be like my current self is applying for a job as a camp overseer or as like a position in the government? And they've put me in this simulation to see if I would turn against them. And if I convince myself that I shouldn't kill tons of people, then that's the only way I'll get the job, because they know that I'll stab them over otherwise. Yeah, none of this is true. My future self isn't true. He's completely an AI. For many reasons, because the first thing you do if you make your future self is you'd be like, prove it, tell me a fact about our life that only we know. There's been nothing remotely concrete from him. It's an AI. This is like a job test. And they're just gonna let me suffer here until I prove that I'm loyal to the government. Jesus Christ. Right, you tell me this, even though I already know this. They're not a government or an NGO trying to save their people. They're actually They're interviewing me for a job, I know it. Trying to force me to be loyal. Hello? Anyone? Rebel interference detected. Mandatory loop reset. Yeah, that's what it is. It makes so much more sense. They're just trying to protect themselves to ensure that no one will ever... Yeah, that's what happens. They are actually developing the bioweapon in real life. You know, real life as in the time that my current self is living in. And they're doing employee screening to make sure that any employees selected will be completely, you know, loyal. Which is mental, I think. Oh, I don't trust you at all. Right, so... if I accept that this guy isn't my future self, that means I can convince him that, you know, doing the bioweapon was the wrong thing to do, without convincing myself. And that's the only way I can get out of the time loop. Right, let's get it, let's just try and fake this guy out.